Hi everyone, welcome to He Said, She Said. I'm Renee. Today we are going to be making these 3D paper stars. I think they're beautiful, they're simple, and we're going to be using some materials that you probably have around the house. So when we come back, I'll show you all the things you'll need to do to make these with me. Okay, so in the introduction, I said that we're going to be making these 3D paper stars, and I'm going to walk you through the steps to actually make this today. So I want to encourage you as you're thinking about the materials. Yes, I'm sitting in front of the Christmas tree and I'm making ornaments for my tree, but you could also use different papers and create beautiful decorations for a nursery. You could create a mobile. A variety of things. Maybe for a baby shower, you could create stars, and we just did a star theme for my daughter Hannah's baby shower. This would have been fun. Anyway, so you can think outside the box, but I'm going to be making some ornaments for my Christmas tree. When you're thinking about materials, think about what you have on hand already. Now, I have a lot of scrapbook paper from a variety of projects that my girls and I did a lot of card making and craft making. So I had a lot of cardstock or scrapbook paper in my craft closet. So this one happens to be left over from a pad of scrapbook paper that I got. I made a project for my mom. She loves The Secret Garden book. And so I found a pad of that and I made her a magnetic calendar years ago. But I've had this for a really long time, but it's this beautiful kind of vintage looking paper, and it made these really beautiful stars. I'll show you a close-up of those later. So I did not purchase this specifically for this project, but it was really great that I had this on hand, and also I had the yarn on hand as well. So I had, for example, this one that I showed to you is from one of the girls' old children's books. So their school, their mascot was a penguin, so we have a number of penguin books, and this is a really sweet story, but I loved the illustrations and just the softness of the colors in this, and I'll show you. Like, here's an example, like this page, if you can see it, this page has a really great border around it, like a framing, and then that became, it was really cute the way that it created these stripes. If you can see, oh here, these stripes on the points of the stars. So that was really sweet. So you could use that. I also made, I made a star. This is a little bit smaller. I thought this was sweet too. Out of a page out of a songbook, an old songbook. So really simple. This one was really fun to make. And this is just an old songbook that we have. I have a lot of these, so it's not like I'm taking something that is any value. You may see this and say, oh my gosh, you can get that on eBay for $50. Well, if you're willing to pay $50 for one of these, I have about 8 of these. So let me know and I can send you one. I'll sell you one for $50. Anyway, so I have these. And if we ever want to refer to a song in here, I'm pulling out songs that I don't know. That's just one way to use this up. But also, the opposite of that too is if there's a song that you really, enjoy or that has sentimental meaning to you, you could create a star out of that page as well. So it can go opposites. If it's like, oh, a song I don't know or I don't care about, you can do that. Another fun option, I've got lots of ideas, is you could use paper grocery bags would be great. You could even paint on them. That could be fun. If the kids have made art projects throughout the year, you could turn those into stars. And they might like to do that with you. This is a fun project to do with kids. And so if it's something that they made this year and you really want to be able to have it as a keepsake, turn it into an ornament, make it, give it as a gift to grandpa and grandma. That could be a really fun way to repurpose something that's meaningful, but you don't know what to do with. So there's that. So I did this project yesterday with the girls. Hannah and Lacey and Becky came over, and every year the girls and I do some type of a Christmas craft. Last year we made some yarn gnomes, which was super fun. We've done wreaths, we've done centerpieces, variety of things. And so every year, that's one of my gifts to them, is we have a crafting day. So I provide all of the supplies, all of the things. They come over, we have some appetizers, and we just have a wonderful afternoon just chatting and then creating a Christmas craft that they can take home as part of their Christmas decorations. I always find it interesting how you have the same bunch of materials and how the end product is so different. So I was making them out of this paper. Hannah was making some out of a similar paper, and she did some song sheets. Becky had some song sheets and some black paper. And Lacey did hers all in black, and she was planning on taking some gold spray paint and spraying those on and making a garland out of them. So it was really interesting to see how everybody had a different spin on how they put their stars together. And it was just a really fun day. It's one of these projects too that it's super relaxing to make, because once you decide on your paper, you're not making any more decisions. Sometimes, you're making a centerpiece or whatever, and you have to constantly be making decisions about how or where you're going to put something. This was pretty much, here's the square, fold the square, make the star, glue it together, and then pick the next paper. Very relaxing. We could talk. We could just have a wonderful conversation, have some Christmas music playing in the background. And it was a fantastic, relaxing way to just spend some quality time together. I'm going to turn the camera around and bring you close in, and I will show you the materials that you're going to need, and I will show you how to make your own 3D paper stars. I already told you a variety of types of paper that you could use. This is scrapbook paper that was in 12 by 12 sheets. So that was pretty convenient. I just cut it into quarters to create 4 6 by 6, and I will use 2, and then I can make another type of star. You can even mix and match. So maybe you want to use this paper for one side and this paper for another side. This one is actually has it's two-sided design, so you could do something like that. You can get as creative as you want. So this was convenient because it was 12 by 12 sheets. If you're using something that's like an 8.5 by 11 piece of printer paper or something, you'll need to make that into a square. So you need paper, you need scissors, you're going to need, now I'm using paper plate. You don't need a fancy paper plate. This is left over from my daughter Hannah's shower. A paper plate, a brush, a paintbrush. You can use those inexpensive brushes. This is a craft brush. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but because it gets sticky and gummy, you don't want to use it for paint later. You can wash it out perfectly fine. So get a paintbrush, and I am just using, just some good old-fashioned school glue. Nothing fancy. So I'm going to dump some of that in. While I'm holding it, I'm going to go ahead and dump some of that into the middle of my plate. You don't need a ton, and you can always refill. Now, you don't have to take off the cap, but because this is old, this is stuck. Do you ever have that? Like you use the glue and you want to use the glue and you can't because it's clogged. So I just took that off. Okay, so paintbrush, and then you'll need, if you're going to make an ornament or something to be able to hang it, some kind of a string or yarn or cord. I'm just using yarn because I have a ton of yarn. So I'm using, it's probably, I don't know, maybe 8 inches or so. It's not super long, but long enough where you can have some of the tail in and enough to give yourself room to hang it. I'm also using a cup, again, left over from the baby shower. Does not have to be a paper cup. You can use any kind of cup. This is going to be used when we're drying the stars, because you want them to be able to be in a place where they can dry like this. So it's a place to rest the stars as they are drying. So I found that that one would dry enough that when I was ready to put the next star in, this one was dry enough. I could take this one out, set it on the table, and replace it. So I didn't need to have, a cup, 1 cup per star. One cup was perfectly fine for this. So just, it doesn't have to be a big cup, just enough to be able to rest that point in. And that is it. And just your creativity. All right, so let me get started in showing you how to do this. I'm going to set this glue aside for a minute. We don't need that right away. Give myself some space. All right, and I'm going to make a star out of this paper. All right, so I've got the 2 sheets ready to go. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is we're just going to be putting creases in this. So I'm going to fold it in half this way. And when you're using a heavier paper like this, give it a good crease. We're going to fold it in half this way. Okay, and then we're going to bring the corners together and fold it on the diagonal. Okay, so now we have, oops, one more. Okay, so now we have the folds on all sides. So now what I'll do is I'm going to take my scissors, and on the creases here, you can see the creases that are on either side on these sides. I'm going to cut about, I don't know, probably 2/3 of the way here down this crease, actually on all 4 sides. So about that far. And if you could, there are some more complicated ways to figure out how far to go, but for me it's like, I want enough room so I can fold it, but it doesn't, if it goes a little far, it doesn't really matter. You do end up, and I'll show you, when you go a little bit farther, it does create this little cut right here, but I'm not too concerned about that. Okay, so now that you have your cuts here, we're going to make points, make the points of the stars. So turn it over. This is going to be the side that faces out like this, and this is going to be the side that you don't see. So we're going to start on this side. You can see the crease right, maybe you can see it, there's that crease here in the middle of this point, and this becomes your new corner. So we're going to bring this over, and we're going to fold this side to that crease and give it a good press. And then this side, again, to that crease right there, to that. This does not have to be perfect. Can you see that? This is not perfect. This is not a perfect point. And that's okay. Okay, this is all going to get kind of hidden in a bit, so don't worry about that. All right, so then we're going to go to the next side. Again, you see the crease there. We're going to bring that side in and crease. This side in and crease. And again, okay, so this isn't perfect, right? There's a gap there. I'll show you a little closer. There's a little gap here, it's not the same length, and you have a little thing here. That's okay. Again, when you look at the stars, they are not completely perfect. If that bothers you, then you can spend more time on it. It doesn't bother me. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Again, trying to use my thumb to kind of push it down. Because if you don't do this cut deep enough, it makes it really hard to manage this side. So give yourself some grace there. Okay, and before I finish the last one, I'm going to show you what to do, because I'm going to show you how to put the holder and the yarn in, because I want that to dry before I start working on the next step. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to open up one of the flaps, and this will work. This one will work great because it has a little gap here. So I'm going to open this guy up. We're just going to take some glue. Oops, see some of my my little, some of the little bristles are coming out. Okay. All right, I'm going to put a little bit of glue down the center of this right here. I'm going to take this, the yarn or the string or whatever you have. That is if you want to use this as something to hang. I think most people would probably want to hang that, and you can do this after the fact. I'm just going to take the other side of this and just smoosh it in. Again, it's not perfect, and that's okay. Smooshing it into the glue, and then that'll give, I want that to set while I finish folding this other one. So we'll give that some time to dry a little bit. All right, so I'm going to finish folding this. The thing I like about using yarn is that it's super porous, and it really likes to stick to the glue. So it sticks pretty well, as you saw. I mean, I'm moving it around and it's not going anywhere. All right, so now we are going to make this, turn this into a 3D star. Right now it's flat, right? So what you'll do is, now this pattern is all the same pattern, right? So it's not a big deal which flap you're going to fold over. When I was making this star, I wanted to make sure that I was folding over the side with this stripe on it. So if you have some kind of paper that you're using that has a pattern, or if you're using like these little song sheets, make sure you see which side you want to be front facing for this part of the star. This one doesn't matter because it's all the same pattern. All right, I'm just going to start on this one, and I usually do the right side. This is my right side, just because I'm right-handed and that works for me. But if this had a better pattern, I would fold this side over to that side, and it'll make sense in just a second. So I'm going to take some glue, and I'm not going to put any glue on this little edge right here because that's where my fingers are going to be touching, and I'm trying to avoid getting a bunch of glue all over my fingers. So I'm going to start about right here, and I'm just going to paint some glue, kind of not too sparingly, but not too gloppy, right? Okay, and then I'm just going to use my thumb and my forefinger from this side. I'm going to lift this guy up, and I'm going to pinch this together. So you can see that. Pinch that together like this, and then just hold these in place. And because the glue is, well, it's still wet, I'm able to kind of manipulate it to where I need it to be. Press it down, and then I like to just hold it in place like that for just a few seconds while the glue kind of soaks into the pores of the paper. Okay, there we go. And there is our first point of our star. So you can see it from this way. It creates a really nice point. And it's set, unless I do something crazy. It should stay in place while I do the other points. Let me show you that again. Now, if you're using some thinner paper than this, and you have something small and you can't get your finger in, or if it doesn't seem like you can get that, it's not sticking there, you can take a chopstick or a skewer and put it down in there to make sure you have it in place. When I'm making the other half, I'm just going to set this one upside down in my cup, like this, out of the way. And it can just set while I do the other half. Okay, so now we have our second half. This next step is probably the trickiest. It's putting the two halves together, because where the surface area, the surfaces where they touch, are really quite small. So you can see it's just kind of that one corner here on every one is where it touches, like just on the corners. So I'm going to make sure I put a pretty good dollop of glue on every one of these corners. So I just take this in my hands like this and just do a good blop. Now you could use a hot glue gun for this, because it would also set up faster and it would hold faster. For me, because I have this glue here, I'm just using it, and I don't mind holding it together. But definitely, if you really wanted to do this faster, you could do this part of this step of putting them together with hot glue. I wouldn't recommend doing these sides with hot glue, but you could. You could. I just always burn my fingers with hot glue. All right, so now we're going to take this and we're going to push them together. Again, I want to make sure I've got them straight. That's one thing I like about using white glue, is that it gives you some time to adjust. And then now I'm just going to take my fingers. Let me show you this way. I'm going to take my fingers and I'm just going to kind of push those together so that the surfaces are touching. Let's make sure we don't have it crooked. I feel like I'm kind of going crooked. Don't push it too hard. Okay, that's good. All right, and so I'm just going to hold it for a little bit. And I may have to come in and put some more glue where I feel like it's not touching. As long as I can get some of them touching enough to have it hold together. Oops. See, it went crooked. I was missing this guy, so let's just kind of get him. Whoops. That's why I said I like to use the white glue, because it gives you a little bit more time to adjust. There we go. Now we're good. Is it perfect? No, it's not. One of the things I learned from my mom is that if it wasn't perfect, it wouldn't be homemade. And so you can always tell if something was manufactured because it's perfect. But this is a gift that comes from your heart, and none of us is perfect, so don't let perfectionism get in the way of something creative or something wonderful. All right, so now that's set a bit, I'm just gonna go ahead and take it here and put it in the little cup. Now I can already see this side isn't touching the way I'd want it to. So I'm gonna just take a little bit more glue and I'm just gonna run it along the edges here. And this glue dries clear, just to make sure that we are touching this surface. And I'm just gonna hold it for another minute or so. Okay, so I'm gonna set this one aside, and now I can move on to the other ones. So I can keep going and make more and more, and I will show you how they look on the tree. All right, the stars are on the tree, and I think they really look sweet. Add little starbursts here and there, but they're very simple and don't overpower the tree. I really enjoyed this craft for a number of reasons. I loved the simplicity. I loved how stress-free it was. It allowed me to be creative without adding more and more complexity or needing to go get more materials. It was things I had on hand, so it just made it really simple. I enjoyed spending time with the girls to make this. That was really fun. And so just the overall craft was really relaxing in a very busy time. Anyway, I hope that your holidays are going well. I hope that you can find a way to de-stress and maybe make some of these stars. If you do make some stars, please leave it in the comments below what you did, what materials you used, or how you use them to decorate your home. I'd love to hear it. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Give us a thumbs up and ring the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. Again, I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season and you find ways to de-stress. And until next time, everyone, take care.